All right, so thank you very much for coming, Vanique. So today we're just gonna put some questions to you that we sort of gathered from students in a few different areas. This is just really your chance to sort of talk about sort of while you're running, answer some questions sort of around the role that you're hoping to take over again, and yeah, we will get started. So. First question, what do you think are the main sustainability agendas that are affecting students at the moment?
Looking at the student ideas that the Students' Union have on their page, there is definitely an increase in sustainability related ideas. So we see the students want less plastic and single-use plastics on and around campus. Also having less waste with events such as students or freshers fair, and just a general aim to improve sustainability on campus and help the university and the SU achieve their 2030 goal of being carbon neutral. So I would say plastics, waste, and just generally living more sustainably.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. And do you think that the Sustainable Development Goals are understood by the students?
I would say across the board, no. There are some areas in which students understand it better. In some surveys that's been done, I'd say about half of the students know what they are, know what they're about, but it's only half, and so much more can be done to help students understand this and implement this in their education, but also their daily lives.
And do you think there's any ways you could potentially do that, or anything you'd like to sort of incorporate going forward?
I would like to get the help of department representatives for sustainability so that we can address this at a departmental level and from a student perspective to communicate it in such a way that we know students will understand. We all love reading academic papers, but that does not make them easy to understand. So I would really like to communicate it in such a way that we can all completely understand what it's about.
Oh, excellent, thank you. And sort of following on from that, to what extent do you think student behaviour is sort of a key role in our sustainability commitment and success?
I've always been saying the student voice is a very important one, and student behavior can shape how the university, the SU, conduct themselves. But if the student behavior is right, it's already a big part of our community that does the right thing. So the extent of student behavior is integral to achieve sustainability commitments and the success thereof. We will not be able to do it without the help and the voice of students.
Yeah. And so sort of following on from that, maybe building on what you've already been doing this year, what would you do to sort of help students live more sustainably?
So currently with the Sustainability Committee, we are working on a sustainable living guide where we can help current students get tips and tricks on living more sustainably, maybe especially for year ones where they are new to the environment, highlighting things as small changes you can make in your daily life that will help you live more sustainably, or tips and tricks that when you move out of halls and into the community to live in a way that is conducive to your environment. So that is currently in the works. We have received feedback that the ask for biodegradable bags in the SE shop has been going really well, and it is something that will be rolled out on a fuller scale in the future. And then we also just want to encourage students to make small changes in their lives. We recently ran a period product workshop where our main takeaway was You don't have to make all these big changes and throw out everything you currently have, but making the small change of binning the products, for instance, instead of flushing them down the loo, is already such a big help. So it's all about the small changes we can make in our daily lives. Packing a coffee cup instead of using a single-use plastic one. And for me, it's making those small changes, and it's the small things that add up. So it's just encouraging students to make small changes every single day.
Brilliant. And next question, you sort of already touched on a bit, but how do you think, what do you think can be done to sort of engage students more in sustainability in regards to some of the stuff you've already talked about, but also maybe a bit more widely than just your roles of how the Students' Union and also the university can be engaging students more around sustainability?
I do think making use of the academic platforms such as sustainability department reps would get students more engaged from an academic level, but also not only making myself the only one trying to do it, working in collaboration with other officers in the SU, such as the International Officer or the Women's Welfare Officer, to reach more students in a different group of students that might not initially be interested, but doing it in such a way that they can see the link between the group they associate with and how it can impact on sustainability. So working in partnership with other part-time officers will help engage students because you just have a wider reach.
Excellent, thank you. So again, next question you sort of already touched on a little bit, which is great. What 3 sustainability topics would you say are the most important to you within the role, but also within your own sort of personal life?
So waste is one of my big things. I would really like to see more food waste bins on campus and working with waste efficiently. If we can get students to do it at university, but also at home, it will become a part of our daily lives. And it's not just the students, it's the academics, it's the staff. Just making these small changes that makes you think, oh, well, can we maybe do it at university and at home? And it just becomes a part of your daily life. So addressing waste is one of the big things. Sustainable period products is something that I started in my role as sustainability officer this year, and it's something that's really piqued my interest, and it would be great to see what more we can do from the SU and the university side to address sustainable period products and also period poverty. And then I do want to help the university reach their goal of carbon neutrality. So looking at single-use plastics and how we can, from the student side, help the university reach this goal by holding them accountable to the things that they said they would do.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. So again, we've sort of covered some of it already. But what sort of, maybe on top of, in addition to anything you've already mentioned, what sustainable changes would you like to see sort of happen at UWE over the next year?
So over the next year, I would like to see, I think one of my main things would be the food waste bins on campus. Some of them have been dotted around in especially the new buildings, but having them in all of the buildings would be very beneficial. I'm also a big supporter of bringing food from home. So when it's COVID safe, to have microwaves across campuses so that students can heat up their food, boil it up so that they can make themselves a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever they might want to drink, and enabling students to bring food from home and be able to eat without necessarily buying food as frequently. And then lastly, see sustainable period products in dispensers around campus. Currently, the university does have the period products dispensers, but they do not stock sustainable period products. So it would be great to see what the university can do around changing the products that they provide.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So, sort of a slightly different topic. If there was one thing that wasn't to do with sustainability that you could see change at UWE Bristol, what would that be?
I would love to improve the communication to students in a way that is very easy to understand. I'm a big supporter of how international UWE is, and we need to take into account that for many of the students, English is not their first language. And even though you do need to have a certain level of English to be able to apply to the university, having to read really difficult communication pieces that you have to Google most of the words is really not fun. So if I can improve the communication so that A, we know what's going on at the university, and B, we can easily understand what's being said, would actually be, it would make me very happy to see easily to understand, clear to understand communication from the university.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. So yeah, thanks for raising that one. And so sort of final question that we sort of got for you today is, as hopefully you know, because you've been involved in it, the SU elections this year are working with Tree Sisters to work to plant a tree for every voter that we get. So while this is a fantastic initiative and we're really excited to sort of to launch that, what other sustainable incentives would you maybe like to see from the elections team?
So one of the big things is the waste around incentives, whether it's a certain type of sweetie that you get or whatever, the waste around that. One of the big parts of sustainability is using fair trade things. So if a bit of chocolate is the way to get students to participate, maybe looking at fair trade chocolates, for instance. I would like to see more done for sustainability on the other campuses. So I think what would be a nice idea is to have a commemorative tree or planter where we can say, you know what, in the 21-22 elections, X amount of trees have been planted. And this is just to show you that this has happened. And if maybe something like planting the trees for every vote instead of giving a piece of chocolate can be done more frequently, we can really make a big change in the world. So it's finding ways to reduce the waste, but still having something tangible. So I don't have a great idea, but continuing something like the plant a tree for every voter, or smaller fair trade sustainable initiatives to encourage students would really be great.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I suppose sort of just sort of a follow-up from that. Obviously, this year the elections are all happening online, so I've been quite successful in going sort of paper-free. But obviously, in normal sort of election years, there is a lot of sort of paper products printed with posters and flyers and leaflets. Is there anything you think we could maybe do around that to sort of change how students approach sort of their printing?
I do think if we can see that the virtual elections is something that works for the next elections, we can build on that. So instead of trying to go back to how it used to be, maybe as we go for a blended approach in learning, maybe having a blended approach for our voting. So yes, have a few printed things, but see a different way you can approach a virtual event. If it's something that really does need to be printed, we can look at recycled paper, and then also ensuring that everything you put up to promote yourself, you have to take down and you have to recycle that efficiently, just to make sure that it doesn't end up where it shouldn't be. But I don't think it would be a good move to, when we're back to face, to go back to our old ways of putting up posters everywhere and printing and doing all of these things. It's taking the positives from the virtual events and applying that to the new normal we will face in the future.
Brilliant, thank you. So I'd now like to, we have one student with us, so I'd like to give her the opportunity to ask you any questions she might have. Totally fine if not, but now is your chance.
Bonique knows who this is, don't you? I wanted to ask, I know you worked with a couple of the other part-time officers in your Sustainable Period Poverty event. I know not a lot of people would consider working in partnership with the disability officers, say. So how would you see yourself in your sustainability officer role, working with the disability officer role maybe in the near future?
I would be very open for it. We are running several of these workshops, and it was a case of trying to see who we can help when. So it's very important that we have a open, and it was a workshop for everybody. And it's something that's going to continue on in the future. So it's just reaching out, not being afraid to get some different feedback and a different view on things, but doing it in increments so that it's not information overload if we know we're going to run a few more in the future. So it's just about timing your information in such a way that it's beneficial to everybody.
Amazing. I like that answer. Very diplomatic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Finique. So we'd now like to give you a chance just to sort of, if you've got sort of any sort of closing statement, if we sort of haven't addressed anything you'd sort of like to raise in these questions, now's your sort of chance just to tell us a little bit about, you know, why you're running and add any extra bits in.
So my main thing standing in this position is I have a sister that's 10 years younger than I am, and I already see things that I've had the opportunity to see that she might not. So it was kind of a way to encourage myself to be a better person for future generations. And I know that I am not, when you look up sustainability in the dictionary, it's not going to be a picture of me, but I'm not afraid to make changes in my life and to hear what others have to say and suggestions that they have to make. I'm just human. I do make my mistakes, and I am willing to take that on board. The opportunity I've had as sustainability officer for this year has just encouraged me to see how much the Students' Union and the university take on board the voice of students. And I do feel like more can be done. So it's just taking the opportunity I have and having the ability to make those changes. So I would love to see student ideas being utilized more and seeing the student voice heard even more. And I do believe as sustainability officer, I can do this in a sustainable way, but also in a university-wide way. I'm not afraid to make my voice known. So if it's something that a student might feel strongly about, I am more than happy to be their voice wherever it might be needed.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming along and answering our questions. I think it's been really nice to sort of get a better sort of insight into sort of, you know, what your sort of priorities and aims are. So yeah, thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a great platform.